Not all disabilities are visible. Hi, my name is Gonzalez Elke, the leader of this group, and we will talking about the teaching strategies in dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia. We will continue to fight for a future that is inclusive and accessible to a person with disabilities.
Okay, say this word. Appropriate. 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 A. Pro. Pro. Appropriate. 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 Appropriate.
Dyslexia, based on the information from the neuroscientific and linguistic research, is the difficulty in the processing of arbitrary linguistic symbolic codes. A learning disability that involves difficulty in reading due to problems identifying speech sounds and how they relate to letters or words or decoding. In a non-dyslexic brain, three areas of the brain is functioning. The paretotemporal area, which slowly analyzes the new words, the occipital temporal area, and the Broca's area that process articulation that helps us connect the sounds to letters. While in a dyslexic brain, the Broca's area is the only one functioning. That is why it is more larger in size compared to the Broca's area of the non-dyslexic brain because it is overutilized to compensate. Learning difficulties affects child's academic achievements, making them inferior and left behind. Dyslexic students are not disabled, and most of the time they do not have problems in comprehension. Because they have specific difficulties in cracking written codes, reading for them is a very challenging task. However, with the help and guidance of teachers and using appropriate teaching strategies, dyslexic students are capable of learning and becoming high achievers. Here are some of the strategies and tips that will help our dyslexic students to learn. Number one is using multisensory teaching method. Teaching by using the multiple senses like our sight, hear, smell, touch, and even taste. This kind of method strengthens the learning pathways of the brains, which are the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Tapping on learning pathways while teaching will ensure that the knowledge is moved from short-term to long-term memory. The second strategy is choosing structured activities, assuring that the activities are appropriate with their learning disabilities. Most of the time, dyslexic students are more on visual learners. So by giving them worksheets that has more pictures rather than letters will encourage them to be engaged in the activities. The third one is activating one skill at a time. Giving activities that uses a lot of skills, students get lost most of the time. The fourth is adapt text graphically, making the fonts larger and clearer and putting some bright or light background on the reading materials will help, won't stress their eyes. No? The fifth strategy is using assistive technology and tools. There are lots of applications and tools readily available in our internet right now, right? That can help them excel and enjoy learning. Reading audiobooks or ebooks can enrich users' learning by engaging them in the content in a multi-sensory ways.
Hi guys, now we will proceed in teaching strategies in Dyscalculia. Ang iilan sa atin, alam ko, ay ngayon lamang narinig ang salitang ito at ang ilan sa atin ay ngayon lamang maririnig yung pinaka meaning nito. So, what is dysgraphia? Dysgraphia is a learning disability that affects writing abilities. It can manifest itself as a difficulties with spelling, poor handwriting, and trouble putting thoughts on paper. Because writing requires a complex set of motor and information processing skills. Saying a student has dysgraphia is not sufficient. A student with disorder is written expression will benefit from specific accommodation in a learning environment as well as additional practice learning the skill required to be accomplished writer. Sana panood ninyong pinakamaikling senaryo sa dysgraphia. Ito'y tumutukoy sa isang bata na hirap pa rin sa pagsulat. Tutuusin ngayon lang natin nalaman na may ganitong disabilities. So, hirap sa pagsulat. Although may nagtuturo sa kanya, pero dahil nga it requires a complex set of motor. Syempre, it's all about brain na naman. Nagkakaroon ng hirap sa pag-intindi o hirap sa pagsulat ang isang bata. Dahil dito, nangangailangan ng gabay ito mula sa magulang o mula sa mga eksperto para at least hindi niya maidala ito sa pagtanda niya at kahit sa pagbata lamang niya ay matutunan niya na ang pagsusulat. So, overall, sa pagkakaroon ng dysgraphia, in general, written work may be presented with a mixture of upper, lower case letter, irregular letter size and shapes, and unfinished letters. Students struggle to use as a communication tool, and as so much effort goes to the actual writing process, there may seem to be little imagination or thought in their work. They may have unusual writing grips, iris, body, and paper positions, and may suffer discomfort while writing. Excessive erasing may be evidenced as a misuse of lines and margins. Students may also poor organized writing on page. Other difficulties may be observed in a poor organization of ideas, poor sentence or paragraph structures, and a limited expression of ideas. There may be a reluctance to complete writing tasks or refuse to do so. So, ito ay isang problema ng isang bata sa pagsulat. Isa-isahin natin yung teaching strategies, paano natin mararesolba ang disabilities ng pagkakaroon ng dysgraphia. So, unang-una is provide support with additional recording mechanism where appropriate. Example, charts, diagrams, dictaphones, model, voice recognition, software, and word processor. So, ito yung mga pangunahing kailangan ng material natin para maipakita natin sa mga bata or yung sa mga batang may disabilities na ganito. So, for example, mga models, paano natin isulat ang letter J. So, sa pamamagitan ng mga charts, pictures, etc. is makapapakita natin sa kanila yung tamang pagsulat, tamang sukat, tamang linya kung saan natin iguhit yung salita o yung isang letra. Pangalawa, minimize the amount of writing students required to do so. So, kailangan hindi dapat ma-stress yung bata. May disabilities na nga siya, so hindi na natin dapat siya pahirapan. So, little by little, matututunan niya din yung tamang pagsulat. So, little by little, bibigyan natin siya ng gawain or task kung saan makakapagsulat siya ng hindi siya nahihirapan dahil alam niyang hindi ganun kahaba yung gagawin niya or hindi kailangan ng malawak na oras para mugulin niya yung oras niya doon sa gagawin niya. Pangatlo, use paper lines that are raised. So, this will act as accessory guide to help the student to stay within the lines. So, may mga notebook tayo at papel na may mga guhit talaga. Kung sa pamamagitan ng guhit, malilimit natin yung pagsulat ng bata. So, letter by letter, magagayad natin yung bata kung saan hanggang saan lang yung letrang dapat haba ng isang letra. So, ayun yung pangatlo nating teaching strategies. Pang-apat, teaching strategies of having dysgraphia. So, try different pens and pencil to find one that the student is most comfortable working with. So, may mga bata na ay gumamit ng lapis, ay gumamit ng ballpen. So, uunahin mo natin gamutin yung disabilities niya or hilumin yung pinaka problema niya. So, tsaka natin siya paggamitin ng tamang pencil. Kasi mas maganda na comfortable siya sa paggamit ng panulat. Para at least mas easy tayo na turuan siya kung paano magsulat talaga. Ang panglima, ang pinaka-importante sa lahat ang pag-intindi sa disability nila. So, acknowledge the extra time is needed by the student in order to complete the task. So, hindi dapat natin sila pinipressure dahil alam na nga natin na hirap sila sa pagsulat, kaya mas maganda na magkaroon tayo ng mas malawak na pangunawa upang magamot natin yung pinaka-disabilities nila. In my conclusion, as a future teacher, dapat maging bukas tayo sa ganitong usapin, lalo na sa disabilities na ganito. So, unang-una sa lahat, hindi lamang ang mga bata ang merong ganito. Maaring sa pagkabata nila, maidala ito sa paglaki nila. Maaring sa magiging future students natin is may ganito palang disability. So, ano dapat natin gawin? Una, tutukan sila. Pangalawa, unawain. Pangatlo, turuan na kung paano natin makukop up yung pinaka-problema nila. At higit sa lahat, pangunawa talaga, pagmamahal sa students natin. So, ayun lamang yung mga 5 strategies na maaari kong ma-share sa inyo. At naway may matutunan kayo sa disabilities na ganito. It's all about dyscalculia, having trouble in writing. Thank you.
So, Marisa, answer these questions, ha? Go. You're finished already. So you see, the correct answer here is 2. And the correct answer here is 8. You are wrong, but don't give up. You can try it again.
Dyscalculia, or what we call mathematics learning disability or math disorder, is specific developmental disorder biologically based that deeply affects learning related to mathematics and arithmetic. This kind of disability affects the way that our brains process numbers. It is a brain-related condition that makes basic arithmetic hard to learn. A lot of people said that it is may run in families, but scientists haven't found any genes related to it. It is also often described as number dyslexia because dyscalculia are usually common in different types of dyslexia. It starts to become noticeable during preschool years wherein students have difficulties learning how to count, difficulties when doing basic math in their head, problems reasoning, and another very common characteristic is going to solve number using adding and or subtracting. This is because students with dyscalculia do not understand the numeric series or decimal well. Some causes of having this kind of learning disability are brain development, environment, and brain injury. There are many levels or types of dyscalculia that can help to know if the child or a student have this kind of learning disability or what we call dyscalculia. And those are verbal dyscalculia, proctognostic dyscalculia, lexical, graphical, ideognostical, and lastly, operational dyscalculia. Verbal dyscalculia. Children with this type of dyscalculia are able to read or write numbers, but have a hard time to recognizing them when presented verbally. Proctognostic. These children are able to understand mathematical concepts but have trouble listing, comparing, and manipulating mathematical equations. The third one is lexical. So those students who have this kind of dyscalculia has a hard time to read and understand mathematics or mathematical symbols and numbers as well as mathematical expression or equation. A child with lexical dyscalculia can understand the concept when spoken but may have a trouble in writing and understanding them. The next one is graphical dyscalculia. So this kind of learning disability have difficulty in writing mathematical symbols. Children with this type of dyscalculia are able to understand the mathematics concept but do not have the ability to read, write, or use the correct corresponding symbols. Ideognostical. Those students who have this kind of dyscalculia has a hard time to remember mathematical concepts after learning them. And lastly, the operational dyscalculia. Someone with operational dyscalculia will be able to understand the numbers and the relationships between them, but will have trouble manipulating numbers and mathematical symbols in the calculation process. So as you can see, the people with dyscalculia have trouble with math at many levels. They often struggles with key concepts like bigger versus smaller numbers. And they can have a hard time doing basic math problems and more abstract math. But there are a number of ways we can support a child with dyscalculia both in school and out. Introducing new concepts lesson, the teacher should by giving instructions and assignments the teacher should or need to Before we finish, I just want you to know that not everyone who has this difficulty with math has dyscalculia. It is better for us to have background knowledge for this and consult our doctor.
Hope you learned a lot from our video presentation regarding the different learning disabilities. Thank you for